during a family party. I mistakenly bumped into my father. He shouted, "You little crazy girl. I'm glad I am not even your father." He had always despised me, although I provided everything for the family, including paying for their son's party. Hello. Thank you for your continuous support. This means a lot to us. If you enjoy the stories we share, kindly subscribe to this channel to help us reach our first 1,000 subscribers. It would be great if you can also comment on which city you are watching from. We might just give you a shout out in our next story. Today, our special shout out goes to John Cray from Melbourne. We are glad you enjoy our stories. Now let's dive into the details of today's story. The air hums with chatter, a buzz that grates against my skull like a swarm of cicadas on a summer night. I weave through the crowd, cousins, aunts, neighbors, my arms heavy with a tray of deviled eggs I whipped up last night after a 12-hour shift. The house smells of garlic and cheap beer, the hardwood floors I polished last week now scuffed with muddy boot prints. It's Evan's 25th birthday, and this place, my place, the one I scraped every penny to buy, is decked out in streamers and balloons, all red and gold, his favorite colors. I paid for those too. The receipt still crumpled in my purse, a quiet little bruise against my wallet. I catch my reflection in the hallway mirror as I pass. Dark circles under my eyes, hair pulled back too tight, a smile that's more grimace than joy. I'm 32, but tonight I feel 100. Elora, you're a saint. Aunt Trudy slurs from the couch, her wine glass sloshing dangerously close to the cushions I re-upholstered last spring. I nod, force a chuckle, and keep moving. Saints don't get thanked. They get leaned on until they crack. The kitchen's a war zone. Dirty plates pile up in the sink, and the trash overflows with crumpled napkins and half-eaten chicken wings. I set the tray down, my fingers trembling just enough to betray the exhaustion seeping into my bones. Elora, where's the extra ice? Clara calls from the living room, her voice thin and needy, like a child tugging at my sleeve. My mother's got that knack, making every request sound like I owe her my marrow. In the garage freezer, I call back, wiping sweat from my brow. Same as always. I grab a bottle of Merlot from the counter, my one indulgence tonight, and pour a glass, the deep red swirling like blood against the crystal. I don't even like wine, but it's something to hold, something to steady me. Fancy job must pay for fancy tastes. Martin drawls from behind me, his voice a low growl that sends a shiver down my spine. My father leans against the doorway, his flannel shirt stained with barbecue sauce, his eyes narrowed like he's sizing me up for a fight. Guess that's why you're too good to sit with us regular folk. I swallow the retort, burning my throat. Just keeping things running, Dad, I say instead, turning to face him. His lips twist into that smirk I've hated since I was 6, the one that says I'm a speck under his boot. Yeah, well, don't trip over your halo, he mutters, snatching a beer from the fridge. I clench the stem of my glass tighter. He's been needling me all night, about my accounting job, my uppity apartment, the way I waste money on this family. Never mind that this house, this party, Evan's damn car, all of it's mine to give, not theirs to take. Out in the living room, Evan's holding court, sprawled across the recliner like a king on a throne. His buddies orbit him, laughing too loud, slapping his back as he recounts some stupid story about a bar fight he didn't win. My little brother's got that golden glow, blonde hair, easy grin, the kind of charm that makes people forget he's never paid a bill in his life. I bought that recliner too, hauled it home in my pickup when he whined about needing something comfy. Now he's 25, and I'm still the one hauling. Elora, more chips, he shouts over the din, not even looking my way. I grit my teeth, grab a bag from the pantry, and toss it onto the coffee table. Thanks, sis, he says, still not glancing up. The room spins a little, too many voices, too many demands, and I step onto the back porch for air. The night's cool, the stars sharp against a black sky, and for a second, I can breathe. But then Claire is there again, hovering like a ghost. Elora, honey, we're short on cash for the electric bill this month. Could you? Later, Mom, I snap, sharper than I mean to. She flinches, her eyes wide and watery, and guilt twists in my gut. But I'm tired, so tired of being their ATM. I head back inside, the Merlot sloshing in my glass, and that's when it happens. I turn too fast. My elbow clips Martin's arm, and the wine arcs through the air, a crimson splash across his shirt. The room freezes. His beer bottle clatters to the floor, foam hissing against the wood. "You little crazy girl," he roars, his face purpling, veins bulging in his neck. "I'm glad I'm not even your father." The words hit like a slap, jagged and hot, slicing through the noise. Then the laughter starts, Aunt Trudy's cackle, Evan's snort, a chorus of hyenas circling a carcass. My chest tightens, my ears ringing, and I see it all: Clara's nervous giggle, Evan's smirk, the way no one, not one soul, steps in. I set the glass down, slow and deliberate, the clink against the counter louder than it should be. "Sorry," I mutter, my voice a stranger's, flat and hollow. Martin's still ranting, clumsy, ungrateful, always screwing up, but I'm already moving. Past the streamers, past the staring eyes, out the front door. The laughter chases me, sharp as knives, but I don't look back. My boots crunch on the gravel drive, the cool night air biting my cheeks, and I slide into my truck, hands shaking as I grip the wheel. The drive home is a blur. Headlights flashing, radio static crackling, my heartbeat pounding in my ears. I park outside my apartment, a squat brick building that's mine alone, and slump against the seat. My phone buzzes, lighting up the dark cab. Text flooding. "Where'd you go, drama queen?" from Evan. "You're embarrassing us," from Clara. "Get back here and clean up your mess," from Martin. I stare at the screen, the words blurring as my breath steadies, and something shifts inside me, a quiet, simmering resolve, like ember catching flame. I don't owe them this. Not the house, not the party, not my soul. The phone buzzes again, insistent, demanding, but I don't answer. I shut it off, the silence wrapping around me like armor, and step out into the night. I'm done with their hands in my pockets, their venom in my veins. The party's over, and so is this game. They don't know it yet, but they've just lost me for good. The key scrapes in the lock, a jagged little sound that echoes through the stillness of my apartment. I shove the door open, and it thuds against the wall, rattling the cheap frame. Inside, its dim streetlights bleed through the blinds, casting slanted shadows across the peeling linoleum. My place is small, a one-bedroom box with a sagging couch and a kitchenette that smells faintly of burnt coffee. No red streamers here, no gold balloons, just the hum of the fridge and the drip of a leaky faucet. It's nothing like the house I bought them, that sprawling three-bedroom with its wraparound porch and oak floors. That place glows with warmth they don't deserve. This is mine, raw and real. I drop my purse on the counter, the clatter of keys loud enough to make me flinch. My phone's still dark in my hand, a dead weight I haven't turned back on since I left the party. I sink onto the couch, springs creaking under me, and stare at the blank screen. My chest feels tight, like someone cinched a belt around my ribs, but it's not sadness. It's something hotter, something alive. Martin's voice claws at my skull. "You little crazy girl. I'm glad I'm not even your father." The laughter rings behind it, a cruel chorus. Evan's snort, Clara's titter, Aunt Trudy's wheeze. I squeeze the phone until my knuckles whiten. I flick it on, and the screen flares to life, a flood of notifications spilling across it like ants from a kicked nest. Texts, missed calls, voicemails, a dozen stabs from the family I just fled. "Where are you?" from Clara, her words dripping with that fake worry she's perfected. "You're such a child," running off, from Evan, his entitlement bold as brass. "Martin's is the worst. Don't expect us to chase you, princess." I scroll through them, each one a pinprick, until my thumb hovers over the settings. Block. One by one, I erase them: Martin, Clara, Evan, even Aunt Trudy for good measure. Their names vanish, and with them, the buzzing stops. I open the voicemails next, Clara's whining, Evan's griping, and delete them mid-sentence, their voices snuffed out before they can sink in. The silence that follows is sharp, clean, like a blade slicing through fog. Morning comes too fast. Sunlight claws through the blinds, and I drag myself to the bathroom, splashing cold water on my face. The mirror shows a stranger, eyes red-rimmed, jaw tight, a woman teetering on an edge I didn't know I'd reached. I pull on a blazer and slacks, my armor for the day, and head to work. My office is a cramped corner of a strip mall, a sign out front reading Elora Tate, CPA, in faded letters. I've built this. Tax returns, audits, small businesses balanced on my shoulders. It's not glamorous, but it's mine, and it's kept them afloat too. Today, though, my hands falter over the keyboard. Numbers blur as Martin's words loop, a relentless drumbeat. Not even your father. What the hell did he mean? Was it just spite, or something uglier? I shove the laptop aside and rummage through a drawer, pulling out a dented shoebox I haven't touched in years. Photos spill onto the desk, faded Polaroids, curling edges, a scrapbook of a life I've tried to forget. There's me at 6, gap-toothed and grinning, standing beside Evan Stroller while Clara fusses over him. Martin's in the background, arms crossed, staring off like I'm not there. Another at 12, me holding a science fair ribbon, Evan front and center with his toy truck, Clara beaming at him. High school graduation, me in a cap and gown, shoved to the edge of the frame while Evan mugs for the camera. Always on the outside, a shadow they never saw. I trace my finger over the glossy surfaces, and the hurt I've buried ignites into something fiercer, anger, pure and molten, surging through my veins. They've taken everything, my money, my time, my spine, and given me nothing but scorn. That house, the one I signed for when Clara cried about needing roots, isn't theirs to claim. It's mine, bought with late nights and skip meals, and they've turned it into their palace while I sleep on a couch with broken springs. I grab my phone again, not to call them. No, that's over, but to scroll through contacts. My thumb lands on Jenna, the realtor who helped me buy it 3 years ago. Her voice crackles through when she picks up, bright and chipper. Elora, what's up? I'm selling the house, I say, my voice steady as stone. No tremor, no doubt, just truth. There's a pause, a rustle of papers on her end. The one on Maple? Your family's place? She asks, surprise creeping in. Yeah, I reply, leaning back in my chair, the leather creaking under me. Listed. Today. She hesitates, then launches into logistics, market value, paperwork, timelines, but I cut her off. Fast as you can. I don't care what it takes. My pulse thumps in my ears, a war drum driving me forward. This isn't a tantrum, it's justice, a reckoning they won't see coming. The rest of the day blurs past. Clients drone on about deductions, but I'm somewhere else, picturing Martin's face when he finds out, Clara's tears, Evan's whining. At home that night, I pour a glass of water. No wine now, I need clarity, and pace the tiny living room, my boots thudding against the floor. The shoebox sits open on the coffee table, those photos staring up at me like ghosts. I kick it shut, the lid slamming with a satisfying crack. They don't get to haunt me anymore. My phone pings, Jenna, with a draft listing. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, move-in ready. I scan it, the words cold and final, then type back. Looks good. Do it. She calls me an hour later, her tone cautious. Elora, I've got it ready to go live. You sure about this? It's a big move. I stand at my window, gazing out at the parking lot, the sodium lights buzzing faintly. The house flashes in my mind, the porch swing I hung, the kitchen I painted, the life I poured into it. Then Martin's sneer, Evan's smirk, Clara's outstretched hand. I nod, though she can't see me, my voice cutting through the quiet. Never been surer. The line clicks dead, and I set the phone down, the weight of it gone from my hand. Outside, a car horn blares, sharp and sudden, but I don't jump. I'm steady now, rooted in a choice that's mine alone. They'll wake up tomorrow to a storm they can't dodge, and I'll be here, watching it break. Let them rage. Let them beg. I'm done bending. I'm cutting them loose, and it feels like breathing for the first time. The phone rings at dawn, a shrill jab that yanks me out of a restless half-sleep. I'm sprawled on my couch, still in yesterday's clothes, the apartment cloaked in gray light filtering through the blinds. The screen glows, unknown number, but I know who it is before I even swipe. They figured it out. I let it ring, the sound slicing through the quiet like a buzzsaw, until it dies out. Then it starts again, and again. My pulse ticks up, not from fear, but from something darker, anticipation, maybe, or the thrill of watching them squirm. I turn the phone on silent, but the notifications pile up anyway, a digital avalanche I can't ignore. I scroll through the texts, each one a flare in the dark. Clara's first. Elora, what's this about the house? Call me now. Then Evan. You're seriously selling our place? WTF is wrong with you? Martin's is a single line, all caps. You ungrateful traitor. I snort, a sharp sound that bounces off the bare walls. Traitor. Like I'm the one who's been bleeding them dry for years. I toss the phone onto the coffee table, the clatter loud in the stillness, and lean back, letting their words simmer in my gut. They've seen the listing. Jenna must have worked fast, and now the cage is rattling. By noon, my voicemail's full. I don't listen, but I can hear their voices in my head anyway. Clara's whine, Evan's tantrum, Martin's growl. I shower, the hot water scalding my skin, and dress in jeans and a leather jacket, something tough to match the steel hardening inside me. I've got one last thing to do at that house. Grab the few pieces of me I left behind, and then I'm gone for good. The drive over is a blur, the road humming under my tires, the sky heavy with clouds that mirror the storm brewing in my chest. I park in the driveway, the for sale sign already staked in the yard like a flag of victory. It's real now, and it feels damn good. The front door's unlocked. Typical, they never cared enough to lock it. And I step inside, boots thudding on the oak floors I refinished 2 summers ago. The air's thick with tension, the kind that chokes you before a fight breaks out. Clara's in the living room, pacing, her floral dress wrinkled, her eyes puffy and red. Evan slouched on the recliner, my recliner, scrolling his phone, his jaw tight. Martin's by the fireplace, arms crossed, his flannel stretched over his gut, his face a thundercloud ready to burst. They all freeze when they see me, like predators spotting prey, but I'm no deer in their headlights, not anymore. What the hell do you think you're doing, Elora? Martin barks, his voice a cannon shot that rattles the windows. He steps closer, looming, but I don't flinch. Selling our house out from under us? You've lost your damn mind. His breath reeks of stale beer, and I can see the veins popping in his neck, the same ones that bulged when he screamed at me as a kid. I hold his gaze, my own steady as a blade. It's not your house, I say, slow and deliberate, each word a pebble dropped into still water. It's mine. Always was. Clara lets out a sob, loud and theatrical, clutching her chest like she's auditioning for a soap opera. Elora, honey, how could you do this to us? To your family. Her voice cracks, but I see the manipulation in it, the way she's wielded tears like a weapon my whole life. Family. I snap, turning on her, and she shrinks back, startled by the edge in my tone. Family doesn't laugh when one of their own gets gutted. Family doesn't take and take until there's nothing left. My voice rises, sharp and unyielding, and I feel the room shift, their shock palpable. Evan leaps up, his phone clattering to the floor, his face twisted with outrage. You're ruining my life, Elora. Where am I supposed to go? I've got plans, a job lined up. How am I supposed to do anything without this place? His whining grates, a spoiled kid who's never known a hard day, and I laugh, a short, bitter bark that makes him flinch. Your plans, I say, stepping toward him, my boots echoing on the wood. I paid for your car, your school, this damn chair you're sulking in. Figure it out, Evan. You're 25, grow up. Martin lunges then, his meaty hand snagging my arm, fingers digging in hard enough to bruise. You don't talk to us like that, you little, he starts, but I wrench free, shoving him back with a force that surprises us both. He stumbles, catching himself on the mantel, and for a split second, I see fear flicker in his eyes. Don't touch me, I hiss, my voice low and lethal, a warning coiled tight. You don't get to anymore. Clara's crying harder now, a wail that fills the room, and Evan's yelling over her. You're selfish, Elora. You've always been jealous of us. The accusations fly, a barrage of venom, but I tune them out, moving past them to the hall closet. My hands shake as I pull out a cardboard box, old books, a quilt I sewed at 16, a chipped mug I loved as a kid. These are mine, pieces they never cared to claim, and I'm taking them back. Martin follows, his shadow darkening the doorway. You think you can just walk away? After everything we've done for you? His sneer is back, that cruel twist I've memorized, and it fuels me, stoking the fire in my ribs. Everything you've done? I whirl on him, box in my arms, my voice a whip crack. I've carried you, all of you, for years. This ends now. I push past him, his curses trailing me like smoke, and head for the door. Clara grabs my sleeve, her nails clawing at the leather. Please, Elora, don't do this. We'll fix it, I swear. I shake her off, her pleas bouncing off me like rain on glass, and stride outside. Evan's shouting from the porch, "You're dead to us." But I don't look back. The keys jingle in my hand as I unlock the truck, toss the box in the passenger seat, and slide behind the wheel. The engine roars to life, a growl that drowns their noise, and I peel out, gravel spitting under the tires. The house shrinks in the rear view, a fading monument to their greed, and I exhale, long and slow, the air rushing out like I've been holding it for decades. Their fury, their panic, it's a mirror reflecting my choice back at me, and it feels right. I'm not their punching bag, their ATM, their doormat. Not anymore. The road stretches ahead, empty and dark, and I grip the wheel, my knuckles white but steady. Then it hits me, a whisper curling through the silence, Martin's voice, that venomous spike. "I'm glad I'm not even your father." It's not just rage talking, is it? There's truth in it, a crack in the story I've lived. My jaw tightens, teeth grinding, and I picture Clara's face, her tears, her lies. I need answers, real ones, and she's going to give them to me. The truck hums beneath me, carrying me toward that reckoning, and I know I won't stop until I've torn the mask off this family for good. The cafe door jingles as I push it open, a tinny chime that slices through the hum of late afternoon. Inside, it's all muted warmth, wooden tables scarred with years of use, the hiss of an espresso machine, the faint clatter of spoons against porcelain. I scan the room, my boots scuffing the worn floorboards, and spot Clara in the corner, hunched over a table like she's trying to disappear into it. Her hands cradle a mug, steam curling up in wisps, and her eyes dart to me, wide and glassy, before dropping back to the coffee. She looks small, fragile, a bird with clipped wings, but I know better. Those wings have claws. I slide into the chair across from her, the wood creaking under me, and set my keys down with a deliberate clink. No greetings, no pleasantries. I'm not here to play nice. The air between us is thick, heavy with unspoken years, and I can smell her perfume, that cloying floral scent she's worn since I was a kid. It twists my stomach, tugging at memories I'd rather burn. "You wanted to talk," I say, my voice low, steady, a thread of steel running through it. "So talk." She flinches, her fingers tightening around the mug, and I see the tremble in them, the way she's stalling. "Alora, I don't even know where to start," she stammers, her voice thin as tissue paper, already fraying at the edges. "The house, what you're doing, it's tearing us apart." Her eyes lift, pleading, and I lean back, arms crossed, letting the silence stretch until it snaps. "That's not why I'm here," I cut in, sharp enough to make her blink. "Martin said something last night. I'm glad I'm not even your father." "What did he mean?" My words land like stones, heavy and unyielding, and I watch her face crumple, a slow collapse I've waited decades to see. Clara's mouth opens, then shuts, her lips quivering as she fumbles for an escape. "He was angry, honey. You know how he gets," she starts, but I slam my hand on the table, the thud loud enough to turn heads. Coffee sloshes over the rim of her mug, a dark stain spreading across the wood, and she gasps, clutching her chest. "Don't," I warn, my voice a growl, low and dangerous. "Don't lie to me. Not now. I've spent my life swallowing your excuses, Martin's temper, Evan's laziness. You're begging. Tell me the truth, or I walk out that door, and you're dead to me." Her breath hitches, a ragged little sound, and she presses a hand to her mouth, tears welling up fast. For a second, I think she'll bolt, duck under the table, vanish into the crowd, but then she slumps, defeated, and the words spill out like a dam breaking. "It was before you were born," she whispers, barely audible over the cafe's hum. "Martin and we were fighting all the time. He was gone for weeks, working the rigs, and I was lonely. There was a man, David. He was kind, gentle, nothing like Martin. It only happened once, but then I found out I was pregnant. With you." The air goes still, like the world's holding its breath. My pulse thumps in my ears, a dull roar, and I feel the ground shift beneath me, a crack splitting through everything I've known. "David," I repeat, my tongue testing the name, foreign and heavy. "Not Martin." She nods, tears streaking her cheeks, and I lean forward, my hands curling into fists on the table. "So all this time, every sneer, every "you're nothing," he's hated me because I'm not his?" Clara sobs, a wet, choking sound, and reaches for my hand, but I pull back, the space between us a chasm now. "I didn't know how to tell you," she pleads. her voice rising, desperate. Martin figured it out when you were little. Your eyes, they're David's, not his. He made me swear to keep it quiet, said it'd ruin us. I stayed silent to protect you, Alora, to keep us together as a family. Protect me? I cut her off, my laugh harsh and jagged, slicing through her excuses. You let him treat me like dirt my whole life to save your own skin. That's not protection, that's cowardice. My voice cracks, not from weakness, but from the fury surging through me, white-hot and alive. I see it now, her hunched shoulders, her trembling hands, the way she's always bent to Martin's will. She's not a mother, she's a shadow, clinging to a lie that's choked me since birth. Alora, please, she begs, her hands fluttering toward me, coffee-stained fingers grasping at air. Forgive me. I was scared, I didn't know what else to do. We can fix this, you and me, but I'm already standing, chair scraping loud against the floor, my shadow falling over her like a curtain dropping. There's no we anymore. I say, cold and final, each word a nail in the coffin of us. You chose him over me every day. Live with it. She's crying harder now, a messy wail that draws stares from the barista, but I don't care. I turn and walk out, the jingle of the door a sharp farewell. The street outside is cool, the wind tugging at my jacket, and I breathe deep, tasting freedom in the crisp air. My old identity. Martin's daughter, the family's mule. It's shattered, scattered like glass under my boots. But something new takes root, a seed of release. I'm not tethered to his hate, his blood. I never was. Back at my apartment, the night presses in, the walls close and quiet. I kick off my boots, the thud echoing, and grab my laptop from the counter. The screen flickers on, casting a blue glow across the room, and my fingers hover over the keys. David. Who is he? Clara's old flames. Where do I even start? I type her maiden name into Google, Clara Hensley, and scroll through scraps. Yearbook photos, a blurry wedding announcement from '89, nothing concrete. I add David, hit enter, and watch the results cascade. David Miller, David Pratt, David Cole, dozens of ghosts from a past I don't know. My heart thuds, a mix of dread and curiosity, and I click a profile. A carpenter in Boise, gray hair, kind eyes, but it's a dead end, a stranger. I lean back, the couch groaning under me, and stare at the ceiling, the laptop warm against my thighs. Who is he? Does he know I exist? Does he care? The questions swirl, a storm I can't tame, and I snap the lid shut, the click loud in the silence. Not tonight. Maybe not ever. I'm not ready to chase a shadow. Not when I'm just starting to see myself clearly. The truth's out, raw and jagged, and it's mine to hold. Clara's tears, Martin's lie, they don't own me anymore. I'm free, or damn close to it, and that's enough for now. The house feels like a hollowed-out shell when I step inside, my boots echoing off bare walls where family photos once hung. No furniture, no clutter, just the ghost of a life I built for them, stripped down to dust and echoes. Sunlight pours through the windows I scrubbed 100 times, glinting off the oak floors I refinished until my hands blistered. The for sale sign out front sways in the breeze, a sentinel marking the end, and I run my fingers along the kitchen counter, smooth and cold, remembering the nights I stood here cooking for people who never said thank you. It's done now, sold, and the finality tastes sharp, like salt on a fresh cut. Jenna's waiting in the dining room, her heels clicking as she paces, a stack of papers spread across the table we used for Thanksgiving, the one I paid for, of course. Alora, you're early, she says, flashing a nervous smile, her clipboard clutched like a shield. Everything's ready. Just need your signature. I nod, sliding into a chair that's not mine anymore, the wood creaking under me. The pen's heavy in my hand, ink black as tar, and I scan the documents. Numbers, dates, a price that's less than I'd hoped, but more than they deserve. My phone buzzes against my thigh, a relentless vibration I've ignored all morning. Evan, no doubt, clawing for a lifeline. I silence it without looking and sign, my name slashing across the page like a declaration of war, Alora Tate. Done. Jenna gathers the papers, her movements quick, like she's afraid I'll change my mind. It went fast, she says, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. Cash buyer, no contingencies. They're moving in next week. I lean back, the chair groaning, and picture it. Strangers unpacking boxes where Evan sprawled, where Martin raged, where Clara begged. Good, I say, my voice steady, a rock in a storm. Let them have it. She hesitates, then nods, slipping the papers into her bag. You okay? She asks, softer now, and I meet her eyes, unflinching. Better than ever. It's not a lie. Back at my office, the strip mall hums with midday noise. Cars rumbling, a kid's laughter drifting from the deli next door. My desk is a mess of files and coffee cups, but I don't care. I pull up my bank account, the sale funds already wired, a number that hits me like a punch, 6 figures, clean and mine. My phone buzzes again, lighting up with Evan's name, and I finally glance at the texts piling up like debris. Where are we supposed to go, Alora? You can't do this to Mom. Answer me, damn it. His desperation seeps through the screen, a whining edge I used to cave to, but now it's just noise. I swipe them away, unopened, and block him again. New number, same game. Claire is silent, probably crying into her pillows, and Martin's quiet too, a void louder than his bellowing ever was. He's got no leverage now, no roof to lord over me, and that silence sings. I open another tab, my fingers flying over the keys. Debts first. Credit cards racked up from their emergencies. A loan for Evan's car I stupidly co-signed. I pay them off, one by one, the balances zeroing out with a satisfying click. Relief washes over me, cool and crisp, like stepping out of a too-hot room. Then I pause, the cursor blinking, and let myself dream. Photography's always been my escape, snapping shots of dawn breaking over the city, the way light bends through rain. I've got a camera, a decent one, tucked in a drawer, but I've never had the guts or the cash to chase it. Now I do. I search photography studios for sale, scrolling through listings. Portland, Asheville, a coastal spot in Maine with weathered shingles and ocean views. My pulse quickens, a thrill I haven't felt in years, and I bookmark them, possibilities unfurling like wings. The day blurs into evening, the office emptying out, the sky bruising purple beyond the blinds. I lock up, the click of the deadbolt final, and head to my apartment, the sale money burning a hole in my mind. My place feels smaller tonight, the walls pressing in, but it's not claustrophobia, it's urgency, a pull to move, to go. I pour a glass of water, the tap sputtering, and lean against the counter, staring at the shoebox of photos still sitting on the coffee table. I don't open it, not tonight. That's the past, and I'm done carrying it. My phone pings Jenna, confirming the funds cleared, and I exhale, long and slow, the weight lifting off my shoulders. It's not vengeance, this feeling, not the petty spite I could have wallowed in. It's release, pure and unshackled, a door swinging open after years of being bolted shut. I'm not tearing them down. I'm building me up. The money's not a weapon, it's a key, unlocking a life I've only glimpsed in stolen moments. I sip the water, the glass cool against my lips, and imagine it. A studio with my name on the sign, a view of waves crashing, a shutter clicking as I capture something real. Mine. Outside, the parking lot's quiet, sodium lights buzzing faintly, and I step onto the balcony, the night air sharp in my lungs. I've got no ties now, no house to anchor them, no guilt to chain me. Evan's texts fade to static, Clara's tears dry up in my mind, and Martin's silence is a gift I didn't ask for but I'll take. I'm free, not because they're gone, but because I'm choosing me. The sale's closed, the debts are paid, and the dream's alive, pulsing under my skin like a second heartbeat. Then I hear it, a low rumble rolling closer, tires crunching gravel. I lean over the railing, squinting into the dusk, and see it, a moving truck, boxy and battered, pulling into the lot. Its headlights sweep across the building, blinding me for a second, and my breath catches. The driver hops out, ball cap, clipboard, a shadow against the glow, and glances up, nodding my way. Tate, he calls, voice rough from the road. I nod back, my throat tight, and he jerks a thumb at the truck. Got your stuff. Where we headed? I freeze, the question hanging there, heavy and electric. Where am I headed? Maine's cliffs flash in my mind, Portland's cobblestones, Asheville's mountains, all pulling me, tugging at the edges of my soul. The truck idles, a low growl that matches the hum in my chest, and I grip the railing, the metal cold under my palms. I'm leaving. Tonight, tomorrow, soon. But the where is a blank page, and for once, that doesn't scare me. It thrills me. Give me a minute. I call down, my voice steady alive. He shrugs, lighting a cigarette, and I turn back inside, the door clicking shut behind me. The past is sold, the future's waiting, and I'm ready to chase it, wherever it leads. The new city hums outside my window, a symphony of horns and distant waves that's become my lullaby these past 3 months. I'm in Portland now, a gritty little haven on the coast where the air smells of salt and pine, and my apartment's a third-floor walk-up with a view of the harbor, boats bobbing, gulls screaming, a horizon that stretches forever. It's small, just a studio with a Murphy bed and a kitchen nook, but it's mine, paid for with the house money and the first shaky profits from my photography gig. The walls are lined with prints, black and white shots of crashing surf, a fisherman's weathered hands, dawn breaking over the wharf. They're not masterpieces, but they're real, and they're me. I'm rinsing a mug in the sink, the water drumming against the steel when the buzzer shrieks, a harsh, insistent stab that jolts me upright. I dry my hands on a dish towel, frowning, and hit the intercom. Yeah, I say, my voice rough from a morning spent editing photos in silence. There's a crackle, then a voice I'd know anywhere, even scratched and weary. Elora, it's me. Evan. My stomach lurches, a cold twist I haven't felt since I left, and I grip the counter, the edge biting into my palms. What do you want? I ask, sharper than I mean to, but I don't soften it. He doesn't answer right away. Just a shuffle, a cough, and I buzz him up, not because I want to, but because I need to see this through. The stairs creak under his weight, slow and heavy, and when I open the door, he's a wreck. Evan stands there, all 6 feet of him slouched, his blonde hair greasy and lank, his hoodie stained with God knows what. His face is gaunt, stubble patchy on his jaw, and his eyes, those green eyes that used to charm everyone, are bloodshot, hollow. He looks like he's aged a decade since his birthday, and I almost feel sorry for him. Almost. Hey, sis, he mutters, shifting on his feet, hands shoved deep in his pockets. Can I come in? I step aside, saying nothing, and he shuffles past, the smell of stale cigarettes trailing him like a shadow. He doesn't sit, just stands by the window, staring out at the harbor like it's a lifeline he can't reach. I lean against the kitchen counter, arms crossed, the mug still warm in my hand. How'd you find me? I ask, my tone flat, a wall he won't breach. He shrugs, scratching his neck. Asked around. Your old office lady, Nancy, she said you'd gone north. Took a guess. I curse under my breath, Nancy and her big mouth, but I don't dwell. Why are you here, Evan? I press, cutting through the haze he's trying to build. He turns, and there's a flicker of the old him, the cocky kid I bankrolled, but it's buried under something desperate now. Things are bad, Elora, he says, his voice cracking, raw. Real bad. Mom's a mess, crying all the time, barely eats. Martin's still Martin, won't talk to anyone. Just sits there stewing like he's waiting for you to crawl back. We're crashing at Aunt Trudy's now, but she's kicking us out next week. I've got no job, no place, nothing. He steps closer, his boots scuffing the floor, and I see the plea in his eyes before he says it. I need help, sis. Cash? Anything? Just enough to get us on our feet. You've got that house money, right? You don't need all of it. I laugh, Phil. A short, bitter sound that makes him flinch and set the mug down, the clink loud in the tense air. You've got some nerve, I say, my voice low, simmering. You show up here, looking like roadkill, and think I'll just open my wallet again? After everything? He bristles, his jaw tightening, but I don't stop. I gave you a house, a car, a life, and you laughed in my face when Martin gutted me. You don't get to beg now. He pulls a hand from his pocket, and there's an envelope clutched in it, creased and yellowed. Mom wrote this, he says, holding it out like a peace offering, his fingers trembling. She's sorry, Elora. We all are, well, Martin's too stubborn, but me and her, we get it. I'm sorry too, okay? I was a jerk, I know it. Just read it, please. His voice breaks, a half-hearted crack at remorse, and I stare at the letter, Clara's shaky handwriting spelling my name across the front. I don't take it, not yet. Just let it hang there between us, a fragile thread I could snap. I don't need your sorry, I say, stepping forward, my shadow falling over him. I don't need hers either. You think a few words fix decades of you leeching off me? You envied me, Evan. You said it yourself back then. But you never stood up for me. Not once. And now you're here because you've got nowhere else to turn. My words are firm, not cruel, just a truth I've carried too long to soften. He deflates, the envelope drooping in his hand, and I see the fight drain out of him, leaving a shell I barely recognize. Elora, he starts, but I cut him off, my voice steady as granite. I'm out. Not your sister, not your bank. I'm done. You've got to figure this out without me. Tell Clara the same. He stares, mouth working silently, then drops his hand, the letter crinkling against his leg. You're really gonna let us sink? He whispers, a last desperate jab, but it bounces off me, harmless. You sank yourselves, I reply, and I mean it, no venom, just fact. Go. He lingers a moment, eyes searching mine for a crack, but there's none to find. Then he turns, shoulders slumped, and shuffles out, the door clicking shut behind him with a soft finality. I exhale, the air rushing out, and lean against the wall, the cool plaster grounding me. Closure settles in, not from forgiving them, not from some tearful reunion, but from letting them go. They're not my burden anymore. I'm my own anchor, rooted in this city, this life I've carved out, and it's enough. The envelope's on the counter. He left it there, a silent plea I didn't ask for. I pick it up, the paper rough under my fingers, and trace the Clara scrawled. What's inside? Apologies, excuses, more tears. I don't know, and I don't care, not yet, maybe not ever. I cross the room, the floorboards creaking, and yank open a drawer, tossing the letter in with old receipts and a broken pen. It lands face down, a whisper I'm not ready to hear, and I slam the drawer shut, the thud sharp in the quiet. Outside, the harbor glitters under a fading sun, and I step onto the balcony, the wind tugging at my hair. Evan's gone down the stairs, out of my orbit, and I'm still here, steady, whole. The past tried to claw me back, but I cut it loose, and the freedom tastes like salt air, wild and mine. I'm not running anymore. I'm standing, and that's power they'll never touch. The balcony juts out over Portland's harbor, a narrow slab of concrete where I stand every morning, coffee mug in hand, watching the ocean breathe. The water's a restless gray today, waves slapping against the docks, and the air carries a bite of salt and diesel from the fishing boats chugging out to sea. My apartment's behind me, its glass door slid open, letting the breeze riffle through the curtains I hung last week. White linen, simple, mine. It's been 6 months since I landed here, 6 months since I cut the cord, and this view, this life, feels like a song I've finally learned the words to. I sip the coffee, black and strong, the warmth seeping into my palms as the sun claws its way up the horizon, painting the sky in streaks of gold and pink. Downstairs, my studio's taking shape, a rented storefront 2 blocks away, its windows framed with my prints, a gull frozen mid-flight, jagged cliffs against a stormy sky, a lobsterman's calloused hands knotting rope. I sold my first piece last week, a small shot of dawn breaking over the wharf, to a tourist with a kind smile and a fat wallet. $50, not much, but when I taped the bill to the wall behind my desk, it felt like a medal. I'm not just surviving anymore. I'm building, and every frame I hang is a brick in a foundation they can't touch. The mug's halfway to my lips when a memory flickers, sharp and unbidden. The party, Evan's 25th, that night I broke. I see it like a photograph, the house glowing with lights I paid for, streamers swaying, Martin's face twisting as wine splashed his shirt. You little crazy girl, I'm glad I'm not even your father. The laughter stabs again, a chorus of knives, Evan's snort, Clara's giggle, the room spinning as I stood there, exposed. I blink, and it fades, replaced by the harbor's hum, the cry of a gull overhead. That moment's a ghost now, rattling chains it can't wrap around me. I step inside, the floorboards cool under my bare feet, and set the mug on the counter. The studio's a mess, boxes half unpacked, a tripod leaning against the wall, rolls of packing tape scattered like breadcrumbs. I moved in last month, trading the walk-up for this place with its high ceilings and a skylight that floods the room with light. The Murphy bed's gone. I've got a real one now, A thrift store find with a quilt I stitched myself, blue and gray like the sea outside. It's not fancy, but it's home, and that word feels new on my tongue. Home, not a battlefield, not a debt. Another flash cuts in the sale, that hollowed-out house on Maple Street. I see myself signing the papers, pin-slashing my name. Jenna's nervous smile as the keys slipped from my grip. Evan's text buzzing like flies, Clara's silence, Martin's void louder than his rants. I remember the weight lifting, not vengeance but release, the money wiring into my account like a lifeline I threw to myself. I shake it off, bending to unpack a box, lens filters, a battered notebook, and the past recedes again, a tide pulling back from shore. The coffee's gone cold when I straighten, stretching my arms until my shoulders pop. I cross to the desk, a rickety thing I sanded and painted white, and flip through a stack of prints ready for the gallery down the street. They're good, better than good, and there's a quiet pride in that, a hum under my ribs I've earned. I've got a show next month, my first, and the owner's already talking frames and prices. It's small, just a corner of her space, but it's a start, and starts are where I shine now. Evan's face flashes next, uninvited, the reckoning, that day he tracked me down. I see him in the doorway, rough and broken, his hoodie stained, his voice cracking as he begged. I need help, sis. Cash? Anything. The envelope trembling in his hand, Clara's letter, is half-assed sorry. I feel the weight of my words again. I'm out, and the way he crumpled, defeated, shuffling out into the dusk. I don't wonder much about them anymore, but whispers drift back through old contacts. Evan's couch surfing, picking up odd jobs he can't keep. Clara's with Trudy still, a shell of herself. Martin's a shadow, stubborn and irrelevant, fading into his own bitterness. They're a murmur now, a distant static I can tune out, and I do. I step back onto the balcony, the wind tugging at my hair, and lean against the railing, the metal cool under my elbows. The city sprawls beyond the water, rooftops glinting, a skyline jagged with promise, and I smile, faint but real, letting the past dissolve like mist. Triumph isn't loud here. It's not a shout or a fist in the air. It's quiet, steady, a pulse that's mine alone, mine because I fought for it, mine because I let them go. I'm whole without them, not a fragment pieced together from their scraps, but a woman carved from her own stone. The coffee's bitter on my tongue as I take the last sip, and I set the mug down, the clink soft against the concrete. My camera is on the table inside, a Nikon I've patched up with tape and grit, its lens glinting in the morning light. I cross back in, the floor creaking under my weight, and pick it up, the heft familiar, grounding. There's a pen beside it, a cheap bic I've scribbled dreams with, and I hesitate, my fingers brushing both. A new shot, maybe the skyline at dusk, or a journal entry, words to trap this feeling before it slips. The future's wide open, a canvas I get to paint, and I feel it in my bones. I'm just starting. I lift the camera, peering through the viewfinder, and frame the harbor, the boats, the waves, the endless stretch of sea. The shutter clicks, a crisp snap that echoes in the quiet, and I lower it, grinning at the blankness ahead. They're gone, Martin, Clara, Evan, fading dots on a map I've redrawn. I'm here, thriving, not because they lost, but because I won. The day's unfolding, the city's alive, and I'm ready for whatever I choose next. That's Alora's dawn. A quiet victory, a new beginning. But her story doesn't end here, and neither does yours. Stick around for what's next, follow along, share your own moments of breaking free in the comments, and let us know you're here. Alora's chasing her light, step by step, so let's keep moving forward together. The future's waiting. See you soon.